Your house is worth whatever it's worth, right? Whoever sells it. Wrong. I'm Charlie. Welcome to Moving Home with Charlie, and thank you for coming.
Charlie Landing grew up in Sussex, is the founder of Best Agent and presenter of Moving Home with Charlie.
If you want to find one of these guys, look out for those compassionate professionals. All estate agents are not the same.
So, Charlie, what would be your advice for people interested in buying new builds right now?
Don't overpay. Do buy, but don't overpay. That's why I say disregard the guff. Read into the numbers and look, and it's buried. The bad news is buried in the small print, okay?
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Property Press Awards.
They may or may not be telling the truth, but you should form your own view. Get out and view, get out and view, get out and view. You cannot be in a position to make offers and have the offers accepted if you're not viewing. Just be out there viewing. Pay attention to the back of the class. If you've not been watching my videos, I did one just a couple of days ago. Disregard the guff, guys. Ta-da! Merch has arrived. So this is sorry, a bit overexcited about this, but I'm very, very happy to see this phrase that I came up with on a whim one day that just seems to have stuck. And although this is the only physical example of merch I've got so far, I'm very excited to share it with you all. And just very quickly, let me show you the things that we've got. And there's a link on YouTube below. I think the actual items should be there. And in the description below, there's a link to this page here, which I just want to very quickly. So hoodie, t-shirt, but then down here, look at this, two-sided t-shirt. And on the back, I look like the guy from the KFC, don't I? The Colonel. And then there's a two-sided bag as well. And yeah, so there we are. T-shirts, hoodies, sweatshirt, and a mug and a bag. No baseball caps yet, but I just thought it would be fun to let you know that this is it. And this is cotton, and it arrived in purely cardboard packaging, so there's no plastic in it. So yeah, for those of you who like it, I'm sorry they're not cheaper, but I hope if you want one, I hope you'll get one. Now, this morning, actually at midnight last night, the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors put out their February 2023 residential housing market survey. So I've just got to see some, yeah, okay. And I did a live stream this morning on the Best Agent channel for agents. And then I got this tweet here from a good friend of mine who's an agent, and he's an excellent agent. He really is an outstanding agent. Got like over 100 Google reviews, and so Christian Byfield, who is the owner of Base Property Services in Shoreditch in East London, which is predominantly a letting agent, but they do sales too. And Christian is an outstanding agent, multi-award winning, cares about his customers, and really unusually wins awards from the tenants of his properties for being an outstanding agent. Anyway, Christian, with someone with whom I am good friends, sent me this tweet this morning saying, "Your apparent determination of a cataclysmic housing crash is often bewildering, Charlie. Why do you so firmly believe prices will be impacted more than they were by the global financial crisis back in 2008. And it really got me thinking this, because I know, Christian, we go back a good 6-7 years. And Christian, from the outset of me forecasting house prices falling, has not agreed. But it's kind of bewildered me as to why not. So I just want to show you one little graph quickly, which is this one. And this is a graph of the net balance. I'll just make it bigger. Hang on, sorry. This is a graph of the net balance of surveyors who said prices rose in the past 3 months. So this is 14 years of industry chartered surveyor. Now this is not house prices. This is the net balance. So the zero line is in the middle there. I don't know if you can see that. I'm just double checking. Yeah. And look at what's happened in the last year. I mean, that is just at any point in the last sort of 14 years, that is a pretty cataclysmic drop. And this is sentiment from surveyors. So this is what I want to say for those of you, because this is going to be quite a long live stream. I'm going to get into detail. We're going to go into the RICS report in detail. I'm going to pick out the things that I think are relevant to help those of you who are still feeling bewildered or unsure or confused by all the conflicting messages that are out there. So why do I think this is going to be worse than the 2008 global financial crisis? Okay. I had a private message conversation with Christian afterwards, and I went through some of this stuff. But here we are, in no particular order. Leading up to the 2008 downturn, we had not had 12 years of record low, close to zero interest rates acting as an inflator to house prices. Okay, we had not had that then. We were not in recession. We did not have a cost of living crisis. There wasn't a war in Europe. We didn't have rampant inflation. We hadn't just had 12 or 13 years of quantitative easing. And we didn't have rising interest rates. So that's just 7 things off the top of my head, all big things that we didn't have in 2008 that we do have now. And also, 2008 was a banking crisis. It was a systemic crisis in the banking sector that meant that lending dried up. It wasn't a systemic problem with the housing market, which is what we have now. And the way I try to describe it is the number one driver of house prices is the cost of borrowing money for a mortgage. Okay, it's the number one driver. And the cheaper it is to borrow money to buy a house, the more people can buy houses. It's as simple as that. So as interest rates go down, demand increases because more people can afford it. And that's what happened when interest rates went down and down and down and stayed very, very low for a very long time and then got close to actual zero during the pandemic. That was effectively like someone plugging in a motorized generator into the balloon of house prices. 14 years, just inflating it with this very cheap money, meaning that far more people could afford to buy than would otherwise be the case. Number one. Number two, in 2013, we then had Help to Buy. And that was like someone bolting on a turbocharger to the generator, inflating the balloon. And up it went. And then number three, when the pandemic hit, they cranked in the nitrous oxide and pushed the overboost button as well with the suspension of stamp duty or the stamp duty holiday and the enormous input of money into the economy from furlough and bounce back loans and all that kind of stuff. And literally you could see house prices following. Like they did that while interest rates were low, they were climbing. Then they did that when Help to Buy came in. And then they suddenly did that. And the last 2 years, they went, I mean, it's just, and all of that stimulus, all of the stuff that's been pumping up the house prices for the last 14 years has all been taken away. Okay, so Help to Buy ends at the end of this month. Gone. 40% for London-based new builds that was providing. Gone. Okay, and 20% in the rest of the country. The stamp duty holiday is gone. The low interest rates are gone. They're gone. And even if interest rates get below 4%, that's still triple what they were. Okay, so all of those things that inflated housing prices have gone. And without those things, house prices would never have got to where they've got. And by taking those things away, all of that stimulus, which is like a bouncy castle, you switch the booster off, and it's just going to collapse. That is what's happening to house prices now. We just can't yet see the full extent of it because of the reporting time lag. Okay, but you know, when you're very, very busy running a business and an agency, you maybe don't look into all of that sort of long-term, looking way back for 10, 12, 15 years in the past, taking a wide view. It's a huge amount of stuff to actually get your head around and to understand just how all of it affects stuff. So, now all of that supporting, propping up stuff has been taken away. Plus, we've now got the recession, cost of living crisis, inflation, all of those things, which are just making it even worse. That's on top of the removal of the stimulus. To me, it's just mind-blowing how anyone can't see all of the verifiable things I've just explained to you that describe what's happened. I mean, it is all maths, not opinion, not complex equations. It's maths. It's just addition and multiplication. It's that simple. It is not complicated stuff. It now costs 3 times as much money to borrow money to buy a house as it used to. Okay, that's got to come from somewhere. And already, I mean, I've got an article to come on to later, but I hope I'm making myself clear here, because this is intended for people who don't want to sit down and crunch through numbers and just want to understand the top line of why this house price downturn, correction, crumble, whatever word you want to use to describe it, crash, collapse, etc. I use the words crash and collapse because I want to communicate the fact that I think it's going to be worse than 2008. Okay, I could be wrong. Things could change. I could end up looking very, very foolish. But would I, after 6 or 7 months of this, be continuing to double down on this opinion if I could see anything meaningful that was going to undo anything on that long, long list of things that are putting downward pressure on house prices? I don't know. What do you think, guys? So that is my 10-minute version of why I think house prices are going to fall. And yes, it takes time. It's painfully slow. For those of you waiting to buy, it's painfully slow. I get that. I'm going to just remove that caption so that the most important words here can actually be seen. Right. Okay, guys, I want to start by going through how all of the media, both the trade, the estate agency industry trade media, and then how the mainstream media covered today's story. We're just going to look at the headlines. So, right, this is the Negotiator magazine, which is an estate agency industry magazine, right? Rick's downbeat about market despite more new buyers. Housing market is still struggling, says the Rick's report for February, but indicators suggest a more stable year ahead. What they don't say is whether that's stable on prices or transactions. Next one, Property Industry Eye. UK housing market showing signs of improvement, but asking prices come under pressure. The UK market remains generally downbeat. However, there are several indicators demonstrating a more stable picture emerging through the course of 2023. Okay, the next one, Estate Agency Today. RICS highlights tentative signs of recovery in buyer demand. And I read all 3 of these, and to me, I mean, I know that most of these journalists, their readership is estate agents. Their advertisers are suppliers to estate agents. They don't enjoy giving estate agents downbeat news. So they've got to try and find balance. But I was amazed. I was like, look at this, going, the RICS is the most, whatever you may think of them, they are the most credible and reliable source from within the industry of house price sentiment, right? They're professionally qualified people in the property industry. And then we have my friend Anthony Codling from Twindig, who released his story this morning. Housing market less downbeat than it was. And Anthony is, I honestly can't actually read whether he really thinks this or not, or whether he's being ironic. But his take is, so the Twindig take was that whilst the tone of the survey remained downbeat, there was some cause for optimism. The market appears to be less negative than it was. Okay, but it's still negative. Okay, and he doesn't say we're not out of the woods, right? But that's that. Let's go to the mainstream news. So the Times reports it like this. More than half of house sales below asking prices, Rick. And by the way, I've linked to every single one of these stories below in the description. So any of you want to go and read the whole stories, you can. Because this is what you need to do. You need to look across all the papers. Guardian, says, UK house prices could be stabilising despite falls, say surveyors. I don't think they say that anywhere. I think they say transactions or activity could be stabilised. I didn't see them saying prices could be stabilising. I didn't see that at all. We'll go have a look in a minute and find out. Telegraph. Properties worth $500,000 or more, it says below, bear brunt of house price crunch. So more than 2/3 of surveyors, 70%, said homes over $500,000 were selling for below asking price. Excuse me, Gesundheit. The Financial Times, house prices fall across UK with estate agents gloomiest in 14 years. Oopsie, am I sharing that tab? There it is. Sometimes I forget what I'm showing. And then Bloomberg, John Stepek on Bloomberg. I think it's probably got the most balanced of all the headlines here. I think that's the fairest, most balanced observation. The UK housing correction continues. And although it looks as though it's stabilizing, but interest rates remain a lot higher than they were. So John is keeping his powder dry. He is generally quite bearish about house prices. And that's quite an interesting article if you want to read it. And he goes in with a graph there showing how closely the RICS survey correlates with, in this case, nationwide annual house price growth. It's quite interesting. I've just highlighted this one comment that he's made, which is, I don't think it's all that surprising. Sorry, first, I don't think it's at all surprising that we've seen stirrings of recovery in the market, similarly to the way in which a boxer might claw his way up off the canvas after suffering a particularly nasty whack to the jaw. That made me giggle. That really did. Anyway, let's get into the report itself. The reports, now I've linked to this page, which has not only got today's report, but all the previous ones. And it's quite interesting if you really want to dig deep to go back and look at what they were predicting in previous months. They're all there, okay? But into the survey itself, okay, which is an 18-page PDF. We're not going to go through all 18 pages because it goes into lettings as well, which I'm not covering in this video. Prices and sales still under pressure for now. Prices and sales. So that means prices under pressure. That was downward. They're expecting downward prices, but downward movement on prices. And sales, in other words, transactions, still under pressure for now. But the picture's a little less negative. Not now, not today, but looking further out. And again, that's the part that all of those headlines in the trade press missed. It's a little less negative if you look further out. And this is what the survey does. It tends to look further. I mean, it's really interesting to note that the RACS survey first predicted a decline in buyers in May 2022. And nobody paid any attention. That was a very significant change. And no one wanted to hear, no one paid any attention, even though this is from people within the industry. Now, I want to just... This is what they actually say. Key activity metrics all remain negative, even if it's less so than previously. They are still negative, means everything is still going down, just not as fast as it was. So that even means stock coming to the market. It means buyers registering. It means transactions. It's all going down, but it's not going down as sharply as it was because it's already come down a long way in their minds at the coalface. House prices continue to slip. Interesting word. I haven't seen that one before, which means fall. House prices continue to fall at the national level. Sales being agreed at below asking price. Comment about rental growth. Now, I'm going to go straight down to the charts here because this is where we need to get a little bit sticky into this, a little bit stuck into this. Before I do, I just want to double check with everybody that everything's okay. Is everyone okay? Hello, everybody. Popolop, Claire Bear, Eddie Ward. Oh, so many comments. Visual Ghoul, Robert Gill. Hi, Robert. Nice to see you back. I haven't seen you for a while. Interesting comment, Robert. Once the surveyor's opinion turns, they will send the market down. That's what happened in 08, 09. Yeah, don't disagree with that. Just checking for any. Right. Rusty Shackelford says, question, is the less negative expected to go back to more negative, a sort of mini bump before things get worse? It depends what you're talking about, whether you're talking about transactions, whether you're talking about number of properties coming to the market, number of buyers, or prices, or time to completion, because that's gone up. There's so many different metrics here. But I'm just going to go back now into the actual report and dig out a few things I think are worth looking at. So national prices past 3 months is this graph here. All right. Now, below that line means that the balance of respondents to the survey continue to expect prices to fall and have seen prices fall in the last 3 months. That's the past 3 months. This is the past month. Now, don't be confused by that in the past month. Oh, this is new buyer inquiry. So this is what they're saying. This is what some of them have called a rebound. What this means is that on balance, the respondents to the survey are still expecting buyer interest to fall. It's just not as the balance isn't quite as steep as it was, right? It was right down at 40-something%, and it's now at minus 29%. I mean, that's still a very negative balance. I mean, to put it into context, the last time it was that negative, it got there once in 2016, which was around about when the Brexit vote happened, I think. But then went back up. And then otherwise it was back in the global financial crisis, so ignoring the pandemic. So that's last month, new buyer inquiries, I think, still going down. Just not going down as fast as they were, but still reducing. So I think what a lot of people could get confused about is when this is less negative, people think, oh, it means it's going up. No. It's still going down. It's like it's still raining, just not raining as hard, if that makes sense. If rain means negative direction of travel of activity, it's just not pouring. It's just raining now, not pouring, but it's still raining. Sales market share. So a newly agreed sales nationally. I mean, guys, you can all go. This is here. I've linked to this, so you can all go and have a good look at it yourself. Now, this is the one. National price expectations, 3 and 12-month expectations. So this chart here on the left. So we've got two squiggly lines here. The purple one, the solid one, is price expectations in the next 3 months. And the question that they ask each surveyor is, in the next 3 months, do you expect prices to go up, stay the same, or go down? And on balance, it's still negative 60% expect them to go down in the next 3 months. Okay, so it is a 60% weighting in favor of prices falling in the next 3 months. It's just that is just not quite as many as it was last month, if that makes sense, right? So again, but the thing is, when it's got that low, a small correction or a small change in direction is not, look at that line. It goes zigzag, 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 right? And when there's a massive drop, which there has been in this particular index in the last, whatever it is, 6 months, a small upwards thing there is okay. It's the badness has slowed down, but the badness is still bad, if that makes sense. But they're saying that 12 months out, only 35% or so are still a negative 35% balance, a net 35% expect prices to still be falling 12 months from now. Right? Nobody commented on, unless I'm misinterpreting this. That is my interpretation of what that dotted blue line, which is the next 12 months, right? Price expectations, next 12 months is still a negative 30% balance. In other words, expecting prices to be lower 12 months from now. The next one is actually transaction volumes. And what this one is showing is that again, in the next 3 months, transaction volumes are expecting a slight improvement. And that's good news. It doesn't mean prices are going to go up. Transaction volumes going up doesn't mean prices are going up. Okay, if anything, if they're starting to see transaction volumes looking like they're going to improve, which I think is going to happen, by the way, that's good news. It means we're not going into a deep freeze, which would be terrible for everyone. It means that sellers are starting to look at selling their house. Average, I will say stock per surveyor. So this is the other one, the other graph, which I think is relevant here. So it's just starting at the bottom. It's very, very small, but the stock per surveyor, the amount of properties they've got for sale, is starting to creep up. This is not a prediction. This is the level they are reporting when they completed the survey in the last 2 weeks of the month. Okay, so that means that stock levels have stopped falling and supply is increasing. Good news for agents, good news for buyers, good news for transaction volumes, but is a downward effect on prices if stock levels are going up. So in my mind, the big takeaway, the supply and demand takeaway, is that the RICS is expecting demand to continue falling, but supply to start increasing. And when you put that into your supply and demand calculator, it tells you prices will come down. All right. So now, any questions just at that point? I've got a couple more things I want to show you. But do we have any questions right at this particular moment? Let's have a look, guys. Craig, that's not a question, that's a statement. What's your actual question? Do you have one? Oh, Kezia. Yeah, Kezia, I normally answer questions at the end. Okay, no, I'm just answering questions on this market survey. And then at the end, I'll take some other questions, okay? Right, so now, that's my summary of the RICS survey. I mean, there's a lot of detail, and I recommend you all have a good look, okay? If it takes a while to get your head around it, because those graphs I show you were not price graphs. They are surveyor sentiment graphs, and they are either positive or they're negative, okay? But let me come and show you the other things that I want to show you. I got a private message on Twitter today from someone who said that I could share it, but they don't want to be revealed for obvious reasons. So this is that message coming right up. 1 second. And let's just do this. So the message says, "Hi Charlie, I am a mortgage broker in central London, 10 years in the job. Not something that I advertise on here, Twitter. It's the first time I genuinely feel prices will fall, and I've always been positive that they wouldn't. I still have a number of transactions going through that were agreed in August and September. I don't think the true stats will therefore show on declining prices until March, April, and definitely by May once completions really slow up." Now, this message is a couple of weeks old, by the way. It only wrote this morning, and he's got a follow-up message. So that next line is out of date. "Fixed rates are falling, however, because they've been coming up since then. I'm advising all my clients to wait. Thank you for calling out the nonsense and keep up the good work." And then later on, he said, today, this message was meant to be sent a couple of weeks back, but hadn't sent. Since then, swap rates have increased, and noise from the banks is that they will be increasing slightly, therefore holding at 4 or 5%. This isn't sustainable for the market. What is nonsensical is that this doesn't help the various stakeholders drop prices or increase business all round. So I just thought that was interesting from a mortgage broker, because normally it's the mortgage brokers, most mortgage brokers, who are so anti-negative house price sentiment. So this is interesting. And then I saw this story, which was actually published yesterday evening, but I didn't see it till today. So this isn't the Telegraph. It's Melissa York. Below for first, I'm reading this to you because I want you to try and get your head around these numbers and what it means. Below for first-time buyers, as mortgage repayments surged by 2/3. Findings from the ONS will fuel fears that property crisis is worsening. Now, I want to get straight into the real number here, which is that buyers purchasing a typical semi-detached house were hit with a £481 increase in monthly payments in the 12 months to December, according to the ONS. It lifted the typical monthly bill to £1,262, an increase of 61%. Now, what I want you to imagine is that you are an average owner of an average semi-detached house. That is very nearly a £6,000 increase on your taxed income, on your taxed take-home pay. All right, so more like £7,500 out of your gross pay. And for anyone on average income, £6,000 a year, suddenly a £6,000 increase in your outgoings, that's not gonna, you're not gonna not notice that, right? And that's excluding the cost of living increases and the energy increases and the food increases. And I'm trying to get across to everybody that an increase like that cannot not have a very big impact on house prices. And of course, during the course of this year, there are more and more and more people coming to the end of their fixed rates and having to remortgage and either having to sell or rent out if they can't afford the new mortgage. And a lot of people just can't afford this. I mean, 60% increase in your mortgage. If there wasn't a cost of living crisis as well, then maybe you might just about stomach that. But what it's going to do, whether you like it or not, and this is just simple maths, it's going to take that money out of the economy. Money that people would have been spending in their disposable income is not going to be spent. And that's what's killing the economy. That's what's driving the increase in small business insolvencies and failures. That's what that story I showed you the other day from The Guardian. 600,000 small businesses worried about going under this year. This is why. Because it's a 400, 500 quid a month increase in the mortgage payment, and it's 400 or 500 quid a month increase in food and bills. So it's £1,000 a month out of your take-home pay increase. That's £1,000 a month per household coming out of the economy, not being spent in local businesses and shops and going out. That cannot not trash the economy. And people might say, oh, well, the wages are increasing. Yeah, but they're not increasing fast enough to keep up with inflation yet. That'll soften the blow slightly as wages do increase, but not enough. You know, this is I mean, I hadn't seen this figure. It's ONS figures just out, and it's eye-watering sums of money. I've got one other funny thing that I wanted to share with you, because some of you, if you follow me on Twitter, and if you don't, by the way, Twitter is where I sort of do daily updates and stuff. It's moving_Charlie on Twitter. Just search moving_Charlie, you'll find it, or at moving_Charlie. And I had a bit of a public run-in with Russell Quirk today about the RICS things. And I don't want to go into that, but some of you know Housing Stig. Now, Housing Stig is on holiday this week. He's celebrating the fact that his landlord hasn't put his rent up too much. And enjoying his, I hope he doesn't mind me saying that, and enjoying his holiday. But he did send me a message. So yesterday, Russell Quirk tweeted that he'd been stopped by police and was questioned by police for 20 minutes for not having a ticket for his train journey back to London. Or he did, for having a ticket. He was questioned for having a ticket. He asked 4 police officers for 20 minutes to establish whether my ticket, which I bought, was valid. And what was funny was Housing Stig sent me a message saying, I wonder if the police stopped Russell because of his housing market predictions. Russell has a TV show on Talk TV, and yesterday he had a pilot episode where he gave his views on why house prices are going to go up and why he thinks that anyone saying house prices are going to go down is dangerous because people might miss out on getting onto the property ladder while it's still going up. I've never seen such abject denial of the hard, cold evidence as there is from Russell. I like Russell. He's a jovial, entertaining, interesting guy. I mean, I disagree with him deeply on many topics, right? But I still enjoy my acquaintance with Russell. Anyway, let's go and take some questions, shall we? I hope everyone enjoyed that, because I did enjoy that joke. He really made me very funny. Okay, guys. Let's take some questions. Now, James Lavender. Hello, James. A new name I don't recognize, I don't think. This is a point I wanted to make as well, which is that the agents I've been talking, so I had a phone call from an agent yesterday saying he's suddenly running around taking on lots of new properties. And other agents I've spoken to the Northwest saying the same. I think, generally speaking, with regional variations, you're going to see a lot more property coming on the market in the coming weeks and months, a lot more, because finally the annual house price falls are going to starting to actually filter through to sellers. James says, houses flooding the market from the VAX die-off, Charlie. New build housing estates everywhere too. Yes. Robert Gill says, Twitter is where Charlie baits the estate agency pundits. I mean, okay, I don't bait them. I challenge them. And not all of them, by the way, because some of them agree with me. So who's got questions, guys? Who's got questions? Tractor Shed says, Charlie, sentiment will change when quantitative easing starts again. Tractor Shed, what do you know that we don't? Because quantitative easing has been stopped, and the Bank of England has publicly stated that they're now adopting a policy of quantitative tightening for the foreseeable future. So there's no quantitative easing happening. That will be a massive U-turn if they decide to do it. And I don't think they're going to. Kezia, if your question is relevant to what I've been talking about, could you put it in again at the bottom? Yeah, Housing Stig is brilliant. Do we have any other? Yeah. Sid, who is, by the way, an estate agent. Russell on Talk TV spouted some nonsense about rates being way under 4%. No, Russell. No, you're right. I had someone else, a mortgage market pundit, challenging me on Twitter today saying, there's no way prices are coming down with rates under 4%. And I said, well, there aren't any rates under 4%. Yes, there are. There are loads. And I said, show me. And he sent me a few of these 3.99999% rates. And I said, okay. And it was just showing, he wasn't showing the whole screen. I said, and what's the loan to value on that? 50%. Okay, 50% right. So not really going to help first-time buyers, is it? By the way, guys, Barclays announced that their mortgage rates are going up tomorrow by about 0.3 or 0.4%, I have heard, on the mortgage grapevine. Jimmy Davis says, question, the regional data for Scotland seems to show surveyors slightly expect prices to rise. Do you think this could challenge your theory of falls in all regions? I've never made predictions in Scotland. I do think Scotland will come down. I don't think it'll come down as far as everywhere else, but I do think it'll be behind the rest of the UK. There are many different dynamics in the Scottish market. And I don't have any firm views on Scottish market, but there was actually that you just reminded me of something I think is worth taking a look at again in that survey, which was the regional breakdown of where are we? Buyer registrations. Let me just see if I can find it, because that was worth looking at. Not newly agreed sales, but that's vendor instructions. So yeah, that's more stock coming on the market. Hang on a second, guys. New buyer inquiries last month. Okay, all right. This is worth looking at quickly. Let me just share this tab. Okay, on the right-hand side, can you guys see this? No, here it is. On the right-hand side of the screen, let me get rid of that graphic. You can see that it says regional new buyer inquiries in the past month. And the interesting to look at here is the difference between the little blue dot and the bar, because the little blue dot is the 3-month average and the bar is this current month. Now, where the little dot, the 3-month average, is below, because we're on the negative balance, right? They're not even showing positive. There's nothing positive at all currently. It's all negative, right? But it does show it's less negative on buyers. This is what they're explaining. So in all these regions, so London, much less negative on buyers. So that's suggesting a pickup in buyer activity in London quite sharply compared to the 3-month average. In East Anglia, however, it's actually got worse. So buyer inquiries in East Anglia have fallen a long way below the 3-month moving average. Wales has stayed exactly the same as the 3-month moving average. 3-month moving average. Southwest has got slightly worse. So that's saying that they're expecting new buyer registrations in the Southwest to be worse than 3-month average. Yorkshire and Humberside is a bit better. The North, much worse. That's interesting. So there's the 3-month level. There's the single month level. That's saying lower. But the Northwest is the opposite. So look at these regional fluctuations. They're a really big deal, aren't they? West Midlands looks like a slight improvement. East Midlands, slight improvement. Scotland, quite a big improvement. Northern Ireland, a modest improvement. But they're all still negative, right? So what that means is that they are still, on balance, the net survey results are that buyer inquiries are going down, just not going down as fast as they have been the last 3 months. That's all that means, okay? Nothing there is saying that buyer inquiry, not a single one of those, not in any region, does the balance of the survey suggest that buyer inquiries are increasing. It's negative everywhere. I hope that helps. It is, you got to really get into the nitty gritty. Back to the questions. Angie, I'm in the Southwest. Southwest and London. JW asks, do you think some sellers' unrealistic price expectations are due to Zoopla's out-of-touch online estimates? Emphatically, yes. Online valuation instant, it's guff. All online valuation tools are just guff. Unless it's land registry actual stuff, it is just guff. And if you want to know why, I did a video a couple of days ago about how to price a property fairly. And in that video, I explained why those online valuation things are guff. Right. This is a quite frequently asked question. Kyle Kundle. I think you were here yesterday, Carl. What's better, buying a house at a low interest rate but inflated price for several years and building up equity, or buying when prices are low and interest rates are higher but at least affordable? The answer to that question is a mathematical calculation that's different for everybody. There is no general answer to that question. Okay, so anyone wondering about that, it depends on the mortgage rate you can get. It depends on the amount of deposit you have. It depends on the risk profile you're willing to accept. It depends on your risk appetite. It depends on your expectation of interest rates. So there is no right or wrong answer to that question for anyone else watching and thinking about this. You've got to just do the numbers yourself, which means, by the way, talking to a mortgage broker. Okay. And for those of you who are new here, please talk to, if you haven't got an independent whole of market mortgage broker to talk to, you can talk to these guys. These are my handpicked guys. There's the link on screen, mhwc.co.uk/mortgage, and they will sort you out with advice if you want to ask that question. So if you've got questions for those guys, go and pop your details in there and I'll hook you up with them straight away. Right, next question. Dave F says, what happens to house prices if bombs start dropping? Well, they don't go up. I don't know where you mean if bombs start dropping. Where do you mean? Where do you think bombs might start dropping? Right, Paul Bullock asks, put an offer in 5% under asking price last week. Estate agent said more viewings are happening this weekend. I feel they are using our offer to encourage others to go higher. What would you do? That is exactly what estate agents will do. And what I would do in that situation, first of all, it might be guff. So agents often say, oh, there are more viewings happening this weekend. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not, but you just disregard it. If they do have viewings coming, then yes, if you've made an offer, they will say that they've got an offer and they will try and get other offers to be higher than yours. If they don't have any other viewings happening, that's their way of trying to get you to put in a higher offer. What I would do is, if I was viewing a property last week, like you were, and the agent said more viewings are happening, in this particular market, what I would say is, well, I don't want to get into a bidding scenario with those guys. So if you don't get any offers from those guys, then give me a call back. And if you don't get any offers from those guys, I'll give you an offer. And that will very quickly flush out whether they do have other viewings or not, right? And that's what I would literally do. I go, I don't want to get in a bidding scenario in this market. I do like the property, but let me know if there aren't any other offers, and I'll let you know what my offer is. But let me know. Call me back if you don't have any luck with the others, basically is what I'd say. Which is quite punchy, but that's what I do, because in this market, I wouldn't want to get into a bidding scenario unless it was a house I've fallen in love with and absolutely wanted to secure, and I could afford that certainty premium that I talked about on last night's video. Craig Wood says, you mentioned fixed rates ending. I think it's 1.2 million this year. When can we expect the peak of those expiring, and how do you think this will affect the market? I don't know when the peak of that's going to happen, but definitely, the longer we go through the year, the more of those there will be. And so there will be an increasing effect from that. Yes, I do expect more stock to happen as a result of this. Some people will move out and rent them out. Some people, if they can't sell them for enough, some people will move out and put them on the market. I just think you're going to see the effect of that will be gradually increasing stock. I know that first-time buyers are impatient, and it's really, really hard, but you've just got to have patience. It's an absolutely critical ingredient when you're looking to buy. You've got to be patient. When is the next announcement of the housing market? Oh, they come out. I mean, they're every week. It's either ONS, or it's Land Registry, or it's Halifax, or it's Nationwide, or it's RACS, or it's Rightmove, or it's Zoopla. I honestly can't keep up. Okay, Annie, this is a really good question. Annie Anonymous asks, will Rishi allow the market to crash and fall? So no budget help is not election year, to undo the damage he did at the beginning of the pandemic, restamp duty. Okay. Asking if he allows the market suggests he's got the control over whether it can happen or not. They don't have control over whether it can happen or not. A lot of people think, the government won't let house prices fall. Well, they did last time. They couldn't stop it. It is. I know some people disagree with this, and I know that it's not a completely free market, and it is interfered with and meddled with by policy. But generally speaking, it is a relatively free market, and it will do what it's going to do. The government cannot afford to prop up this falling market. Why? Because interest rates have gone up, which means it costs the government more money to borrow. Government's interest payments alone are £12 billion a month, which is the same as the entire NHS budget. They cannot afford to just borrow more and prop up the housing market, because the money markets will go, nope, no, you don't. You're not doing unfunded borrowing. Interest rates will go up even more. Now, gilt yields are already increasing, which means swap rates are going to continue to climb up. They're not going up sharply, but they are climbing. They're ticking up. And that makes it harder for the government to borrow money. And in this budget, what you're going to see, I think, is the government attempting to win over the confidence of the money market, saying, look how fiscally responsible we are. And they're going to do it at the expense of the people. And they're not going to do anything. I mean, they've said on the website, Help to Buy will not be extended, will not be replaced. If they do anything, if they pull out any party tricks, I would imagine, at a guess, that their strategy is going to be, right, 2023 is a write-off. Let's just get as much pain out of the way as we can in 2023, so that in 2024, in the budget, we can come in as knights to the rescue and pull out a lovely giveaway budget to win lots of votes for our election. That's probably what they're going to do. They're going to let it tank this year. Insofar as they have the power to influence the market, they're not going to influence it this year, I don't think. Thank you, Regina. Thank you for your help. Regina, I keep asking you to send me a private message somewhere. I haven't seen one. Have you sent me one anywhere? I'd love to know. I said you've already gone, I think. I'm asking you too late. Do we have any other questions? Okay. Alistair asks a good question. How do you know if there has been another offer? Building on Paul's questions. You must ask that question by email. If you ask that question by email and they answer, they have to tell you the truth because it's in writing. They're supposed to tell the truth anyway, but they will dodge that question unless they've got lots of offers, in which case they'll gleefully tell you they've got other offers. But if they're calling you up asking for offers, that's a sign that either they haven't got any other offers or the ones they have are very low. So you should always ask if there've been other offers. And an honest agent will just say the truth, and the dishonest ones will try and avoid the question. And if, by the way, if an agent ever says to you, well, I can't tell you that because of GDPR, that is a barefaced lie, or they don't understand GDPR, right? GDPR says they cannot reveal anyone's identity. It doesn't stop them telling you if there have been offers or not. So if any agent tries to tell you that they can't tell you whether there have been other offers or not because of GDPR, that is just classic guff. And you should challenge them on that and say, no, GDPR doesn't stop you telling me if there have been other offers or not. Any more questions? I'm going to wrap it up soon. Yeah, it's worth reminding that. Actually, Robert Gill makes a good point. By the way, Robert Gill is a mortgage broker, everybody. There are so many things that people can do to renegotiate their mortgage deal. Don't expect mortgage stress to help a downturn. No, mortgage stress won't help a downturn, Robert, but I think, there are some people who simply won't be able to afford their new mortgage rate and would probably rather sell than overstretch themselves. So I do think that there will be more stock coming to the market from it. However, you raise a good point, because I actually know somebody who rang up their mortgage provider because the fixed rate had ended, and the standard variable rate was going to be almost double the monthly payment. And the person just said, I can't pay it. I just can't pay it. I don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be repossessed. What's going to happen? And communicated effectively real financial stress. And over the phone, they did a product switch to something with a big discount on it. And in the end, the mortgage payment increase was around 30% increase rather than 100% increase. So I think it's in all lenders' interests to keep you paying something every month. They would much rather that than push you into default. I do think that. So I agree, Robert. A lot of people think to do to renegotiate their mortgage deal. What's my prediction on the budget? As far as the housing market is concerned, very little. I mean, they might do a little bit. They might tweak inheritance tax. They might tweak stamp duty for higher value stuff. They might tweak tax on second homes. I don't think they're going to do much to the mainstream market. Is my only view on the budget at the moment, off the top of my head. I haven't really thought about it yet, to be honest. The government do care, XR 2828. They do care. They do care because the housing market and housing prices affect GDP. It affects everything. Won't the Tories try to buy landlord votes? Well, not based on their conduct in the last couple of years, with the changes that they've made to the law, which are basically making highly leveraged landlords end up in a loss-making position. Just looking for any more questions. No, I didn't see the boss of Zoopla's video this week. Charlie, what's his name? Charlie, can't remember his name. But I will look for that. It's quite interesting. Hello, Daniel. Property Searches Direct, home of local searches. Sorry, guys, having to scan through all of these comments. Okay, Cynthia Pierre, this is a really good question. I absolutely love the house. It's a two-part question. Hi, Charlie. I bought my first house at the peak of the market last August with 10% deposit, 5-year fixed rate, offered 10K above the market, but the house was valued at my offered price. I absolutely love the house. I'm planning to stay for at least 10 years. Would you consider this overpaying? Just concerned about the negative equity issue. No, if you love the house, you're happy living there, and you're planning to stay for at least 10 years and you can afford the mortgage, then you haven't overpaid. You secured yourself a home. And yes, you'll probably be in negative equity for a while. As long as you don't default on your mortgage, you got nothing to worry about if you're staying there for 10 years. You'll be all right. You'll be okay. That's interesting. Joe Brown asks, what happens if your agent goes out of business in the middle of your transaction? As long as you've got a conveyancer involved, it shouldn't affect you. The conveyancers are the ones that get the transaction over the line. The two conveyancers will get the transaction and don't need the agent to do that. But you'll need to be chasing them yourself. Sorry, guys, just still. Hello, a new member here, a new follower, Edward M2. Question: I'm a first-time buyer, scared of overpaying, and it's very difficult to tell if I'm overpaying, especially for renovated houses. Do you know any traps I should avoid to not overpay? Okay, if there's a bidding scenario, you're probably going to be overpaying. If you're the only person offering, that gives you confidence you might not be overpaying. And overpaying is a subjective thing. It's not so much about the property's value, it's about what you can afford to get into that home. And generally speaking, the way I suggest answering this question is, imagine the price that you want to offer. Imagine making that offer. Imagine the offer is accepted. Actually imagine the agent ringing up saying, delighted to tell you your offer's been accepted. You'll have one or two reactions to that when you think about it, which is either you'll be like, oh God, that's a commitment I don't think I can handle, in which case you've overpaid, or that will make you feel excited to proceed at that price. If you've got the excitement to proceed at that price, you haven't overpaid. If you don't have the excitement, if you're feeling a sense of dread and fear, you've overpaid. Oh, Paddy O'Shaughnessy. What about remortgaging and negative equity? Very difficult to do, I think, if not impossible. I'm not a mortgage broker, but if your house is not worth the value of your mortgage, no one is going to lend you money against it. I think product switches are the best you can hope for in that scenario. Guys, I'm going to wrap it up before it gets to an hour. I hope you've enjoyed this evening. Follow me on Twitter, moving_Charlie. Go to the link below if you want to get any of the Disregard the Guff merch. Give me your feedback on it as well. It's a really cool system when we haven't got to order lots of stuff in advance. They just print it to order. So if you don't like the designs or got ideas or the stuff that you want that isn't there, let me know. All right. Otherwise, thanks for coming. I'll see you on the next one. Have a great night. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.